Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 back at it with another Chicago Bears video. And I'm joined by my Uncle Darrell, and we're here to give a season preview of the Chicago Bears. Yes. Uh, Now, mind you, this is taking place before the third preseason game. But if I'm being honest, who cares about the third preseason game? Because it's just going to be nothing other than Justin Fields starting today, which is the only thing I'm going to be watching for. The moment they put Nick Foles in, I'm turning my TV off. And I'm just hoping that none of the Bears players can contract the virus because apparently Tennessee is doing bad in that department of, I don't know, containing the virus within their organization to like 2 or 3 people. Now it's become the hotspot of COVID again. So hopefully that no Bear players picks up the virus and that hurts us for the Sunday night football game, but we'll see. But in this video, we're going to talk about some things I saw from the preseason game that we like and we don't like, probably more the latter of the half.
Which one? There was nothing to like about the Buffalo game.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Okay, all right. So I just want to, clarify that you're saying that there were going to be things that you're going to talk about that you like about the preseason game. So I'm assuming
only really the Dolphins game to an extent, but the Bills game. Listen, go check out my Bills recap because I did not like anything. I literally ranted.
Yeah, there was nothing about that game that I can honestly say that I liked. Going into the half down, freaking 4 touchdowns. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll predict what they could be. The record could be. We'll do a quick game by game thing, but we'll just talk about how the offense somewhat looks like same old BS filled crap I've been hearing or seeing. Defense still, in my opinion, hasn't changed my mind in the last 2 preseason games I've seen. It looks like the same defense Pagano's coached. But whatever. But if you're going to be an advocate of that, just let you know in that Bills game, dang near all the starters were in there except the linebacking core. And they still got torched by Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, granted, Buffalo is deep.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've always said about the Bears. The Bears is top heavy. After that starter, it's pretty downhill from there. I mean, they really can't afford any injuries whatsoever.
Yep.
And I'm talking about across the board, whether it be quarterback, running back, wide receiver, cornerback, it doesn't matter. They're top heavy at every position. They put out decent starters. It's just that when that starter gets hurt or goes down, those backups are at best inefficient.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly probably one of the best things we can start off with is how are the Bears going to look based on if this is an injury-riddled year? Not good. No. From the preseason games I've seen, some of these guys don't even know what the hell they're doing. They just not football smart. Then some of them are just not as good as the next guy. And then 2, that's a reflection on the coaching because it clearly shows that they're not coaching these guys up to be, I don't know, fundamentally good football players. Because, for example, I'll go back to the Dolphins game. My God, the corners for the backups for the Dolphins were like just as good as the starters for them. Yep. Getting up in the receivers' bodies, making sure there was like no way, no how Justin Fields could try to get a pass off. And I was like, oh, wonderful. I wish we had coaching like Brian Flores does. Same goes with the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Same thing. Bears, you go look at their side, their friggin' receivers, can't get off the tight coverage because no coaching. Defensive backs, they get torched. Defensive line can't get no pressure. The same old.
Yep.
Offensive line can't block.
Well, I like to do it this way. I always simply say if something is either incredibly good or incredibly bad over a course or a period of time, I always ask myself, what is the constant? What is the constant? The players change, maybe even, some of them stay. But the constant throughout the entire thing is Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. That's the constant throughout the entire thing. So we can sit up here and say all we want about how great we think Justin Fields is going to be. We all feel he's going to be great, but can we honestly say that he's getting the coaching that he needs at such a young age? And I can honestly tell you right now at this particular point, especially after watching that Buffalo game, that the answer is unequivocally no. He's not getting it.
No.
So I want to say that even give Coach Desai a shot. This is his first year as a DC, so let's see what he can do once we hit the regular season, because obviously it's the same question. They have no depth at no position whatsoever. So hopefully these guys can stay healthy. We can't expect them to play 16 games. No one can during the NFL. Actually, I'm sorry, 17 games. No one can expect any one player to go a full 17 games. Yeah. But the better teams in the league are deep enough to survive a starter going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously probably one of the biggest injuries that happened way before the season started is the Tevin Jenkins injury. Now, a lot of people are coming back to, I believe, Chris Williams injury and how that could be. Listen, we'll have to see how this plays out. If he just never touches the field and he's constantly or consistently hurt, then yes, that's a failed draft pick on Ryan Pace. From the standpoint, you could have drafted a more healthier lineman instead of there. But hey, he was one of the best there, so they felt like they had to take. Now, I don't like the fact that you shouldn't. If they clearly knew he was injured, he was hurt going into this, they took a gamble on him. Now, from my knowledge, he was able to do all the rookie mini camp just fine. His back injury just came up out of nowhere. Don't know how. So hopefully Tevin Jenkins can get healthy. I would envision he's going to be out for the year. I don't know because back injuries are serious, but that's just my thing. I won't say blame it now because I saw a lot of Bear fans blaming it. I wouldn't say blame it yet, but I can understand why there'd be cause for suspicion of maybe a bust of a pick right there.
Well, they knew he was injured, excuse me, going in, but let's be honest. He wasn't the only player in the entire draft that was drafted with an injury history. So we did it last year with Jalen Johnson. We knew his shoulder wasn't, 100%. And guess what? He wound up injuring, midway through last season. Well, it was his shoulder. So those are the risks. The draft is such an inexact science that, you do have to take some chances with, especially in football. Football is such a, and this because you actually played. I'm mostly a basketball coach. I coach basketball. I live basketball. I can tell you a lot of nuances about basketball, whereas you specifically can tell me different nuances about football because you actually suited up and played. Yeah. So I'm just a fan. I just love my Bears to the to the end. But the draft again is such an inexact science that sometimes we get them good, sometimes we get them wrong, and for the most part, I will say Ryan Pace has drafted decently well. I mean, he hasn't done a bad job drafting. But, I think the problem has always been once he drafts a player, and that's where the dichotomy comes in with Ryan Pace and Nagy. Hey, dude, I draft him. You have a very difficult time developing them. So, that's the dichotomy that is the Chicago Bears. I don't know if they're clashing or anything like that, but that's the major issue that I see moving forward with the Bears. As always, it's the same problem. Ryan Pace will draft them. Matt Nagy can't do a darn thing with him, it seems like. So, but I think Jenkins will be fine. If he happens to miss the entire season, it is what it is. Honestly, let's be honest here. We're both huge Chicago Bears fans. We never, ever once actually thought that we were coming into this season Super Bowl ready. No, there was no way with a coach like Matt Nagy. I can honestly tell you, I honestly thought these Bears was going to win a Super Bowl this year. Can we make the playoffs? Maybe.
Depends on who's going to be starting, but
Correct.
let's,
Correct. It's a lot that has to happen. A lot. I'm going to say it again. An awful lot has to happen with the Bears making the playoffs this football season. I mean, we're talking about divisional foes having issues, and our injuries don't really catch up to us. We get a surprise player off that can make a difference on the bench. Who knows? Khalil Herbert may actually be a diamond in the rough. Rodney Adams may be a diamond in the rough. We don't know. Justin Fields, that's a question mark as well. There's just so many question marks around the Chicago Bears making the playoffs that it's going to be a real difficult season, I honestly think. So, let's go through the games. Let's see what we think.
Yeah. Before, obviously, I know as Bear fans, the number one talking point is the offense and how, the quarterback thing. But I want to save that actually for last because I don't want to stress myself out. So, in other words, let's kind of talk about the defense because that's probably going to be the definite bright spot. Even though I thought the defense was average at best, but then again, they could have just not been calling much of anything special. But still, I thought in the first preseason game, the defense looked solid. They managed to hang in there, and even though they had Tua moving the ball every now and then when he was in, they eventually got the stops they needed. Now, when you get to the freaking Bills game, that was an embarrassment. Now, I called for the Bears to send out anything they wanted to do against Mitchell Trubisky, and that didn't happen because they just let Mitchell Trubisky, every time he had the ball, just go down the field, get his little touchdown, and then, get off the field. Next drive, same thing until like the end of the half. And that was when I was like, okay, what's going on here? These are a bunch of backups on the Bills, and they're moving the ball pretty efficiently. Now, eventually, some of the defensive line members get taken out early. Game. The one thing I did see in that game is they just didn't get enough pressure. Even in a case in that Dolphins game, they didn't get enough pressure. Now, could that be because they're just hiding things? Okay, fine. But every now and then I would like to see some blitzes in there and see, hey, can my line get to the quarterback? But same thing like the last few years, defensive line isn't getting to the quarterback. And although I love Khalil Mack and the other line members, they got to do their job. They're getting paid countless amount of money to get to the quarterback, and they're not getting any dents in there. So that's going to be a big thing, which is definitely going to help out our putrid secondary. Linebacker-wise, I can't speak on the linebacker other than Alec Ogletree. He was pretty good. So definitely I'm saying you could keep him on the roster, and maybe if Danny Trevathan just isn't as good because he's old now, you can just fill him in put him in there as a replacement whenever Danny goes down with another injury or if he's just not cutting for it, and he can be lined up next to Roquan Smith. I can't really speak on the linebackers because they didn't play for some dumb reason. I know injury protection, but my whole thing with the preseason Bears, I don't know why they hold some players out. I'll talk about it on the offensive side of the ball too. But they didn't play the linebackers. No idea there. Secondary, I just have no words. We're going to get carved up this year. So expect the Bears defense to get carved up in the secondary. So expect the Bears defense, especially against the Rams in week 1, if our front seven can't get to the quarterback, expect them to get dotted up pretty heavily. And the one thing, especially from that Buffalo Bills game that I did not like to see, same thing from last year, too many missed tackles. I don't know who the strength and conditioning coach or the defense or Desai. Now, the one thing I did like about Desai is he looked visibly upset when they always focused the camera on him, which is good. But listen, if these guys can't tackle, it's going to be a long season for them on the defensive side of the ball. Now, I think the defense is going to be solid, not what the 2018 defense was, but maybe a top 10 near like 9 or 10, or maybe a top 15 defense. Just my opinion from what I've seen from 2 preseason games. But there's clearly a lot of work to do for this unit. Getting pressure, linebackers, I'm kind of fine with, and then just defensive back wise, I'm not really sold on them. I know you don't like Kyle Fuller, but I still think it was a terrible, terrible thing just to let him go because, hey, we had to pay Andy Dalton 10 mil with 3 mil incentives. So the fact that you look at the depleted secondary, now Jalen Johnson, what I've seen of him, he looks pretty good. He looks really good. He looks like he's going to be the next shutdown corner. Now, the opposite corner upside, offside of him on the other side of the ball, I don't know. I've been hearing that too with Eddie Jackson. They're going to put him and make him back like he was 2018. Eddie Jackson haven't seen enough, and then Tashab Gibson, he's been solid from last year, so that's it. But that's kind of it on my thoughts on the defense as a whole.
Well, I'm gonna give the Bears at least a little bit more credit. That in preseason, you do see a lot of vanilla defenses. I mean, you do. I mean, you're not really going to show your hand in preseason with anything. Basically, all you want to do, from what I've seen over the years in preseason, is you want to be able to evaluate the players on your team, just playing a very basic dry system. You don't want to do too much that's innovative, because once it's on film, the opposing team can use it. So, and that first game is against the best defense in the league, and we probably do have the worst offense in the league. So right now, at this particular moment, any strategical advantage you can use for that very first game is going to be utterly needed. So I understand that the Bears probably don't want to open up their entire playbook. That said, man, my goodness gracious, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, at some point, you got to sit up here and say, hey, man, let's stop it with the vanilla defense and let's play something. They killing us, something. I mean, that whole first half was just, it was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
The way Buffalo actually just shredded our defense. Buffalo shredded our secondary. Buffalo shredded our front seven. Buffalo shredded everything about what we were. And to the point whereas I just think they folded, and they just didn't want to, they just didn't want to give in. Now, as far as the defense is concerned, again, it's still one of those things whereas my hope is that somebody on that second tier can come forth and put forth, a little effort. I shouldn't say effort. They all play hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm just productivity, I guess I should say. The secondary specifically, yes, Kyle Fuller was not a fan of mine. Yes, I am glad he was gone. But no, they did not do a really good job of replacing a cornerback of his caliber to put alongside Jalen Johnson, who I think, yes, give him a good, and it might be this year. He might be the next shutdown corner in the NFC. And I really think that was a really good draft for them. Hopefully he stays healthy enough, to become that guy. So I think the other guy was it Trufant that's playing alongside him on the other side.
Yeah, but I don't think Desmond Trufant has played any of the preseason games.
Well, and I think that's another thing as well too. They're just not real. They're basically coming out with their second stringers. I mean, so, and I think the reason why they're coming out with second stringers is because, again, they have to find viable talent to come off the bench. In the event, Roquan Smith is what, 24, 25 years old?
Yep.
And he's probably right now one of the elite middle linebackers in the league, let alone the NFC, and he's 24. And they got to put somebody, they got to have guys around him. You're right. Trevathan ain't doing it. Alec Ogletree looked like he could be. a really good stopgap guy, but eventually they're going to have to start putting some viable pieces around Roquan Smith on defense.
Yeah.
Desai did, again, he was one of Fangio's disciples, from what I understand. You probably know different, but so hopefully when the season comes, start opening up that playbook. And we know who Matt Stafford is. We know what kind of quarterback he is.
Yeah.
But open up that playbook a little bit and let's see what these guys can do. So I honestly think it's just the vanilla defenses. It could have been one of them things where let Mitch Trubisky have his day and things of that nature. So we're just going to be the most vanilla defenses that this guy's ever seen, and let him shred us, let him have his day. It's fine.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think we won't really see any different when they play the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to Nashville, so I honestly think that the majority of the starters won't suit up. So again, it's going to be about evaluating the talents that we have from the second string to the third string to the practice squad and things like that. So I don't think we'll really see anything about what this Bears can truly do until we play the Rams.
Yeah. Then I forgot to mention before we switch over to special teams real quick. One of the sleeper players I've actually liked was our 7th round draft pick, Kyrie's Tonga. From what I've seen from him, he's actually been really good for us. So he definitely could be a replacement for type of D-line type of guy for like a Akeem Hicks when he eventually departs, whenever that is. Because he's a big body and he freaking stuffs the middle of the line when it comes to runs. He's just a big dude. So I was impressed with his play. So I definitely think he should make the roster and be in that lineman rotation. And then also I forgot to mention Eddie Goldman's back, but he hasn't played any preseason games because he immediately got the virus again. And then he came back and he is yet to I think even just this past week, he just now started practicing again. So hopefully he can be the Eddie Goldman of old that hopefully helps us out in the run game a lot more than compared to last year, because we definitely missed him. But anyways, let's go on to special teams. Special teams wise, if you wanted to know my thoughts, I did not like any of the special teams, production we saw at all. Now, other than kicking, other than field goal kicking, fine. But kickoff.
That's really difficult to hear. Being a Bears fan, we've had so many issues with kicking over the years that now we're saying that, hey, wow, the Bears' biggest strength is our kicker.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back. I'm trying to looking back at everything that the team could be this football season. Wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, offensive line, defensive line, linebacking core, secondary. Is it possible our best player is the freaking kicker? The freaking kicker. Never would have thought. Never. We have Khalil Mack. We probably have the best linebacker in the NFC, the best edge rusher in the NFC. And it's such, whereas you have to mention, as far as one of the best players on the team, with those two guys, mentioning those two guys as well, too, that the best player on the team is our kicker. Pathetic.
Yeah. And from what I saw in the preseason games, when it came to kickoff, I'm not really going to talk about returning wise because there wasn't much of that. But really, kickoff and punt coverage, it was so atrocious. Again, I'm going to say it like I said in my game recaps, how our special teams coach, Chris Tabor, is not fired yet. I have no idea. Now that, you can't really say that's schematics or anything. That's just wanting to go down the field and go make a hit on somebody. There was many times on the punt coverage that you would have the freaking opposing team, whether it was the Dolphins or Bills, scamper for 20-plus yards, and they just somehow got a score and stuff like that. No idea.
Correct.
So,
and special teams is mostly about that effort that we were talking about earlier. I mean, we understand that there are certain things that you see in preseason games strategically, but from an effort standpoint, then what's the problem? I mean, I just don't see, especially on special teams. You should be out. I mean, and I hate to say this, and I know this is going on your YouTube channel, and everyone please subscribe because this kid really knows what he's talking about. That you're trying to go kill somebody, man. That's basically what you're trying to do. The only way you can make a team is that, you really have to really hit someone really hard and hope that we hope that they don't get hurt, but man, you're out there trying to kill somebody. And we just don't see that with the Chicago Bears on special teams. And again, what's the constant? Coach.
Yeah. So I just see guys not, especially on punt, not getting down there, not containing a guy into the middle of the field. So then the middle portion of that line who's going after the ball is kicked, they're just right there and they don't, pursuit to get to the guy. They just are, and then 2 missed tackles and stuff like that. So listen, that's on the coaching. That's on Chris Tabor. I've always been advocating him get fired since the Cody Parkey stuff, since everything. And listen, these are guys that are supposed to who can't make an individual position on the roster. These are the guys that's like, hey, we need you to make the roster. Here's a good spot to, and you guys are not doing your job. So hopefully that's not a sign of bad things to come for the regular season, because that could happen, very much happen with these starting dynamic like players. But obviously the last phase of the football field we got to talk about is the offense.
Do we really have to talk about the offense?
I wish we didn't have to.
Oh, my Lord have mercy.
But apparently from Matt Nagy, it takes 3 to 4 years to learn this apparent offense. Oh, really? Okay, it's year 4. Yeah. What is this, year 404 now? Remember 202 from 2 years ago with Mitch?
And we've had how many quarterbacks in the last 4 years? I mean,
more than that.
Let me go ahead and say this. I understand that everyone wants the next Patrick Mahomes. I get it. I understand it. The dude was fantastic. Was he like a genie in a bottle? Did he just come out of nowhere? Yeah, some would say yes, some would say no, some would say, you know what? We expected him to be great when he was drafted out of Texas Tech. But come on. You got to be able to have some type of structure, some type of offense before this guy even becomes what he was. I'm sorry. You put Patrick Mahomes in this crap right here, he would never, ever succeed to the point how he was how he is right now with Andy Reid.
I would think he would just elevate whatever BS play calls Matt Nagy just calls. That would probably be the only thing he would do, and probably make this football team maybe an 8-18 yearly.
Maybe. But I mean, you see what happened to him when he doesn't have players. The Super Bowl showed you that. They had to put together an offensive line just for that game. The Tampa Bay defense only rushed him with 4. They doubled and they pretty much covered Tyreek Hill at every level of the defense. And look what happened. The dude was he was running for his life because he didn't have an offensive line. But here we are with Chicago Bears. They've been trying to build this offensive line for what, 4 years now?
More than that, to be honest.
Yeah, longer than that. So it's to the point whereas they're so desperate that they want to sign a 39-year-old offensive lineman whose years are probably more than way behind him. I'm like, it's.
Well, we'll find out what Jason Peters. He could be a solid. I said in that video when we signed him, he could be solid for us. He could not. Hopefully, he's more solid than, I guess, spare parts. But
maybe.
Whatever. Offense, listen, I have no trust. I don't care what anybody says. I have no trust in this offense because it's led by the incompetent Mr. Guy himself, Matt Nagy. Because, hey.
Okay. There you go. See, now you're cooking with Crisco, young fella.
So, yeah. Matt Nagy with his whatever BS stuff he needs to say, I don't care. Let's go position by position. So, starting off with the offensive line. Again, most of the offensive line really didn't play. Like, I saw Mustafa in there. I think Whitehair played a few snaps, but I didn't see no Jermaine Fetty, no James Daniels, no Jason Peters. And they're probably not all going to play together till week 1, which, again, I question. Why are we not playing any of the offensive starters before, I don't know, your first game of the season just to get them in game shape and get them to, I don't know, get the feel of a football game? No idea. So if we see a lot of sacks, blame Matt Nagy for that. This offensive line, a lot of people say we have a bad offensive line. I think our offensive line is solid enough to get by, but I can understand why people still say it sucks. But I think it's solid enough to get by. Now, if you're just, I don't think against like a team like the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that can just bring pressure out wherever they can get pressure, it's not going to be effective. But hey, that's when we get to the quarterback, we'll talk about the quarterback reasons of why I feel more comfortable with Justin Fields back there than Andy Dalton. But that's just my thoughts on the offensive line. I think they're going to be fine for the most part, but typical Chicago Bears offensive line. They'll play average, but when you play against the good teams, they're going to get blown up easily.
Well, if we're looking at the preseason, and we're going to say, well, you know what, based on what we see in the preseason, the regular season is going to be a mirror image of the preseason. Unfortunately, we're not playing our guys, so we can't really get that view of what they could be because we just haven't seen them. We don't know if they're injured. We don't know if they're out of shape. We don't know if they're tired. We don't know any of that stuff. So we really won't understand or know until the first game. The problem is the first game is on the road with a potential Super Bowl suitor in the Los Angeles Rams. And we both know the last time we saw the Los Angeles Rams, it looked like they were playing Vanderbilt University. I mean, it makes you kind of wonder what the Bears are trying to achieve in the preseason. It makes you wonder what they're trying to achieve.
I feel like
trying to keep the guys healthy. I mean, that's a possibility. They were just trying to keep the guys healthy, or they're not healthy enough to at least play one series. At least playing one series.
Yeah. We're like, it's something where it's like, okay, I can understand you want these guys to stay healthy. Well, Correct. Get them in a series or two. Give them 2 drives, just at least 2 drives. Tell Allen Robinson, hey, get out there for 2 drives, and then you're done for the day. Just get used to game speed. Because these guys been off for like 7, 8, 9 months. It's going to take some – and we saw what happened in the 2019 season when Matt Nagy just sat everybody. And guess what? First game, they were not even ready.
Nope. And it seems like he's doing it again.
Yeah.
Seems like he's doing it again. I mean, you got everybody falling in love with Fields and what he could be, but it's same old Nagy. Same old Nagy.
Yeah.
So.
What are your thoughts on the offensive line?
Unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to hold my judgment until I see them against the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the only thing we can do, Cam. I mean, it's, they're not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know Jenkins got hurt, but, and they signed Peters,
yep.
But we can't really say much about the offensive line because they're not playing. I do like the guys we are putting out at running back. I will tell you
Yeah.
that. I do like the running backs we're actually putting out there. To the point whereas, Tariq Cohen, they got him on the pup list. They're like, okay, yeah, you sit tight. We got these cats over here that are looking really good.
Yeah. And speaking of the running backs, yeah, I liked what I saw. I liked you only got a little bit of David Montgomery because, hey, did one play, already limping up, yeah, you're done. And you haven't seen him since then. So I envision he's going to be playing in the Rams game. Damien Williams, I liked what I've seen so far. Obviously, he's coming over from the Chiefs because, hey, Matt Nagy making his little Kansas City connections. So that, and then a surprise has been Khalil Haybear. He's actually been pretty damn good for us.
I like him. Now, granted, the only problem that I'm gonna have with they're gonna relegate him to special team and just have him return kicks.
Yeah, especially when.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, especially when Cohen gets back, which honestly, I'm looking at Montgomery, Williams, and Herbert, and I'm like, what's the point of having Cohen? Honestly, why do we even resign him? You should have just let him walk. And it's funny, too, because they'll pay Cohen, but they won't pay Allen Robinson yet. And you supposedly have your quarterback of the future?
Yeah, I got to admit, I mean, me personally, and the way the NFL is played right now, running backs come a dime a dozen. You could have moved Cohen.
And Cohen, honestly, is just a gadget guy. I like Cohen, but he's just a gadget guy.
You can't hand the ball off to him, 10 plus times a game and have him go off tackle. So for the most part, when he's in, everyone knows you're passing. You're passing. You're gonna put him out. You're gonna put him out in the. You'll probably roll him out in the slot, or run screens with him. You know that you're passing. So I mean, and then on top of that, you have to do certain things, cutesy just to get him the football.
Yeah,
you're not gonna line up in a 2 tight end single back set like you would with Montgomery and then run him off tackle.
Yeah,
you're not gonna do that.
He's Darren Sproles 2.0. He's Darren Sproles 2.0. That's what he is.
Yeah, Boston Scott, he's that kind of a guy, he's, and then on top of that, I mean, if you're going to put, Khalil Herbert kicks, why couldn't you just use Cohen for that? I mean, that's the kind of cat he is anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Herbert gets a little bit more time, gets a little bit, more touches. And I'm talking about, and with the offense, I think I really like this kid. I really like this kid.
Yeah.
The wide receiving core has some decent potential.
Yes.
Mooney, Robinson. I really like this kid, Rodney Adams.
Good. I love when he's definitely making the roster now that Mr. I like to punch homes Javon Wims is gone. He finally
that brought a smile to my face. Javon Wims is gone. So I mean, I'm really liking. Hopefully, Adams can crack the top 3.
I think he's going to make the roster. He's probably going to be the 4th or 5th receiver on the roster.
Are we still talking Ridley, number 3 or number 4?
What I've seen of Ridley in the preseason, to be honest, I was calling for this guy to get a shot, and I can now understand why the Bears have not given this kid a shot. To me, he just has not looked good. He hasn't looked good. There was one pass.
He looks slow. He looks weak. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one play, he was in the slot and the blitz was right on his side. So, I mean, he's going for, a 10-yard post. And I'm like, well, why are you going for a 10-yard post? Read the defense. The guy's blitzing. Just run to the area from where the blitz came from. And he doesn't seem to have a really good football IQ like his brother does. So
Yeah. And there was also one pass Justin Fields threw, and that pretty nice pass. It was a fade. And he doesn't even try to get up to high point or contest the ball. No. He just lets it go.
It doesn't seem like he wants the ball. I mean, I don't know, man. That's just my take from what I've seen. He just doesn't seem like he either likes Chicago, like how he's being utilized. But at the same time, though, from what I see, I just don't really see a really smart football player. I just see a guy that's out there just trying to survive.
So I guess I was totally wrong in my analysis of the whole, give Ridley a shot, because clearly the Bears coach clearly saw, Matt Nagy saw this guy ain't cutting it. So maybe he might get cut or maybe be put on the practice squad. No idea, but I expect the receivers to be Robinson as your number one, Goodwin as your number two. Your slot receiver is going to be Mooney. Then Ronnie Adams will probably be the next receiver after that. And I'm guessing after that, maybe Riley really makes the team just because he's going to be the fifth receiver or something like that. So,
but see, my thing about it's I do like Mooney. Goodwin, the problem that I have with Goodwin is he's been around for his fourth team?
I could
be wrong. I think so. Fourth?
I think so.
Fourth, maybe third, but he's been around a little bit to being such a, young guy. He's actually been on a lot of football teams. So I'm like, that really doesn't really bode well. In my mind, especially with the play caller that we have in Matt Nagy and, how they utilize their quarterbacks, so I don't know what type of rapport that Dalton is trying to get with the wide receiver core, so those are simple little things that, we know Robinson's a stud. We know Mooney is going to be really good. But, Goodwin, coming from, he was with San Francisco.
He started his career off with the Bills, then 3 years with San Francisco, and then he was on the Eagles, but he opted out that year because of COVID.
So again, it's still one of those things, whereas, he's moved around a little bit. Maybe he's looking for a home. Hopefully he can find it in here in Chicago, but it's just that we just have some issues really finding really good, solid wide receivers. I mean, so hopefully hopefully he can be a really good number two for Allen Robinson, especially since Robinson's in the last year of a contract.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just see where it goes. But the entire wide receiving core, I'll say, B.
Yeah. And then going back to some of the offensive line, these receiving core did not play. Like, I think I only saw Mooney play like one game. After that, nope. And yet they're trying to feed us the whole Andy Dalton's QB1 BS. But, then where is his starting receivers out there so I can understand a repertoire there? It can't happen in practice. It got to happen in a real game sense, right?
Yeah.
They're not out there. And then, obviously I don't know what's going on with Ryan Pace's whole statement or whole standpoint of not paying Allen Robinson. This guy should have been paid a year ago. He should have been paid a year ago. I
gotta admit, I think when they gave Cohen that money, I think that set Robinson, I don't think Robinson was right with Chicago. Since Cohen got that money. And Cohen tried justifying it by saying he left money on the table for Robinson to be signed, but I think that's all, PC nonsense. But Robinson should have gotten paid by the Bears.
Yeah. And especially the fact that you're going to hand a dude who's going to be starting, maybe lose his job at some point in this year, $10 million with $3 million incentives. You're telling me you can't give Allen Robinson a $30 million extension? And this is a cat who's put up 1,000 receiving yards with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles as his quarterback for 3 years straight. And you're telling me with Justin Fields he can't do even more than that?
And they're not giving him and they're not really doing him any justice. I mean, keep in mind, Allen Robinson is 29 years old this year. So, I mean, the life is, you have to think about the life expectancy of a wide receiver. We both know the life expectancy of a running back usually peaks at 28. Wide receivers are, they can be pretty much the same. So, and he's 29 and in the last year of a contract. That's That's just really low down the way Ryan Pace is doing Allen Robinson. He deserves better than this.
Yeah, unless I guess Pace is backup plan. Oh, we'll just draft the number 1 receiver in the draft. Okay, yeah. All right, fine. So we'll see how that progresses, but I would not be shocked if Allen Robinson just says, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Thanks, but no thanks. Yeah.
Where it will be a whole thing where it doesn't matter what the Bears give him. He's just going to go take and walk somewhere else because
Green Bay will sign him.
Oh, brother. Don't make me hate him because he goes to Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay will sign him.
Unless the Bears do some mid-level effery and, I don't know, try to lure Davante Adams from the Packers. I don't think that's happening, but unless he's entertained, because technically Adams in the last year of his contract, and after Rodgers leaves, it sounds like he won't be coming back unless they
want. I gotta admit, I honestly think he deliberately did not sign with them just to find out what they're gonna do with Rodgers. Yeah. He's gonna hang around. I mean, let's be honest with you. If I'm a wide receiver, I want to be on a team with a capable quarterback that can get me the football. And right now, Rodgers is that dude. And we both know that after this year, this is it for Green Bay. They are done with Rodgers. And that's another one. They probably should have signed them because it's going to be a trickle-down effect, too, with that offense. So, which is a good thing for us because, we don't like Green Bay. So, we like seeing them having a little stress.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I honestly think that, Rodgers, go do Jeopardy, and we'll see you in Canton.
Yeah. So, obviously, the last main important position on offense is definitely the huge talking point. It's been the huge talking point in Chicago of all media, even national media, which is surprising, which is actually great to hear. But that is the whole quarterback situation, how it's being held here. And that's something that I don't like that's being handled here. Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Now, it's honestly giving me 2018 vibes again. Just Justin Fields is a 10 times better quarterback than Mitch was. But obviously the one huge thing, if you've been paying attention to any of my past videos, I've said it from the moment I saw that Dolphins game. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you're, he's going up against the Rams week 1. Don't care. Start Justin Fields. I just don't see how in the 2 weeks I've seen Andy Dalton play for this team in the preseason, how he gives us any chance to win. Any. And I know now that's all Matt Nagy's fault for not putting the freaking starting receivers in there. So he maybe, I don't know, looks better than what he originally looks, than what Andy Dalton looks like with the backups. But it took this man literally, I think 4, 5, 6 drives to finally score a touchdown. And it was a badly thrown ball and a great catch by Rodney Adams on that touchdown in the Bills game. You cannot lead me to believe that, I don't know, Andy Dalton is QB1. No, even in the Bills game when Justin Fields came in and he didn't score a lick of anything when he came in, he moved the ball down the field more effectively than Andy Dalton ever did with those anemic backups. Now, yes, he did take a shot, and yes, was that all scary? Yes, but he got up from it, freaking just put his helmet back on and went out there and played some more. So. Don't know why Matt Nagy's refusal to, I don't know, play him. And the whole thing is, I always get, you need to let him learn, and you don't want to throw him out to the wolves and stuff like that where his confidence gets shot. I think that's all BS because I said this. Well, guess what? What if you do that strategy? He comes back in he comes to play around week 4 or whenever he decides to play. Then you actually make the playoffs with Justin Fields. What if he's playing the Rams in Los Angeles again? You can't put Andy Dalton back in for Justin Fields, so you might as well just throw him out there and let him learn himself. Let him see a defense, even though the defense for the Rams can be confusing at times. Let him go out there, get that game speed in. Because at this point, what's there left to lose? Now, I said in my draft video, well, when they drafted Justin Fields, this gives Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace a leash for maybe another year. Now, again, I still would not be shocked if Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace has some under the table deal from the BS McCaskies And clearly they're going to take it because, hey, why not? It's money and I get to keep my job. But personally, if you ask me, honestly, Ryan Pace is more secure to keep his job than Matt Nagy. And the more I hear this whole Matt Nagy press conference when it comes to, oh, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, Andy Dalton's going to be the starter. Listen, I don't give two craps. Listen, Andy Dalton's going to probably be the starter. He is going to be the starter. What am I talking about? Well, then how about this? If Andy Dalton gets pulled out for Justin Fields, Matt Nagy should be immediately fired for his job because that makes no sense. Don't feed me this BS that Andy Dalton's a starter. I better see him freaking kill it. And I've always said this. I don't care. Whatever. We play Andy Dalton. We go 3-13. If we can play with Justin Fields, the least I'll say is we go 9-8 and probably either making the playoffs just barely or missing it. I'm done with this. Nobody can convince me. I've seen 2 games. Justin Fields can move the ball really fine and really dandy with the backups that suck. And really his best receiver was Jesse James. I totally forgot. I skipped over tight ends. That was his best receiver. And then Ronnie Adams as well. Just imagine what he's going to do with Mooney, Goodwin, Robinson, Kmet, Graham. Oh, and then, I don't know. He does, because we have a refusal to play our starters, we can't see what Justin Fields looks like with the starters on the field. So, fine. Start Andy Dalton, and then watch it epically fail. And then it'll be just like the Nick Foles thing when you brought him over and now you're paying a third-string quarterback $20+ million to freaking just sit there.
Well, I'll say it just like this. I don't understand why people think, or there are some people that think, I think the majority know what kind of a quarterback Andy Dalton is. This guy had A.J. Green at his peak. Last year, that Dallas offense, the players are on that Dallas offense were elite. And he couldn't do anything with that. You got the top 5 running back, 2 top 5, a top 5 receiver, maybe a top 10 receiver in Dallas, potentially the best offensive line in football, or it has been religiously over the last 5 years, and you couldn't do anything with that. There was no reason for them to sign Andy Dalton to this football team. So
if they were going to sign him, they should have signed him to less money. Heck, if you're going to make a promise saying, hey, you're going to be the starter, you could have just told him, hey, sign for $1 million. We'll promise you the quarterback. And I guarantee you, he would have taken the money.
The same thing that they did, that New England did with Cam Newton. You could have did that with Andy Dalton. But no, you opened up the checkbook and took money from other players. So again, what's the constant? Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy. And honestly, I think it's going to be a fight to the finish. And honestly, I think at the end of the year, Ryan Pace is going to fire Matt Nagy to save his own.
I think if they finish with a poor record, they have another poor offensive season in the range. Because I'm just saying this. If Andy Dalton's starting the entire year, they're going to be bottom tier offense in just yardage and all the other offensive stats. They're just going to be
if he couldn't win with the players he had in Dallas, there is nothing that tells me he's going to win with the players we have here. There is nothing that tells me that. The only thing that I honestly think that and Matt Nagy seems to be the kind of coach, whereas he likes to tell people how smart he is. So if he gets in front of a podium, in front of the press corps, and the Bears win a football game, he's going to go on and on about everything that he did worked. If it doesn't work out the way he wants it to, he's going to pass the buck. That's just how the Bears have rolled for the last 4 years. I don't see anything. So my thing is, throw the young man out there. Throw the young man out there. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do.
My thing is, he's eventually going to learn. He's eventually going to play. So why hold him back?
Correct.
And
honestly, just like we said before, there is no way we honestly think the Bears are going to win this division. There's no way we honestly think they're going to make the playoffs. And I know there's nobody that thinks the Bears are legitimately going to win a Super Bowl this year. No. So if that's the case, let's let the young man learn. Put him out there. Put him out there. Run plays, run plays so he can get his feet wet in the NFL. I mean, that's what you normally do with rookies. I think the last rookie, I mean, come on now. I mean, it's, they're going to start Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
Heck, they traded away Minshew today, essentially guaranteed a security.
Yep. I honestly think they're going to start Mac Jones in New England. So I'm like, come on now, let's start the kid. Let's see what he can do. Put him out there and let's see what he can do. But honestly, I can't see it. I don't see it because again, I think it's that the bumping heads of Nagy and Pace. And honestly, I think Pace, to save his gig, will fire Nagy at the end of this year. Yeah.
I just think Matt Nagy's too stubborn for his own good. And fine, if he wants to say, hey, I'm going to win with freaking Andy Dalton, then go out there and win with Andy Dalton. And I hope this will probably be, if that's the case, I hope Pace does it because that'll probably be the best decision he's made as the GM. Now, the only question is, will he be able to hire a more competent coach than that? And I still go an offensive-minded coach, just somebody that actually knows who he's talking about, whether that's Bryce Dable from the Bills, or Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs. I'm fine with that because, hey, I feel like they actually schemed for their players instead of a guy that just came up out of nowhere and got play-calling duties in Kansas City. And then, lo and behold, guess what? The one game he did play call, his offense barely moved at all. And that's the whole thing. We're obviously going to see Matt Nagy play call again for this team.
Well, we'll see. So, I mean, Brian Dable, I got a taste of him when he was in Alabama. He was all right. Eric Bieniemy, again, he's another, Andy Reid, disciple. And we got an Andy Reid disciple, and we can't stand him. So,
or maybe you go from the Belichick tree because you see what freaking Brian Flores is doing.
Correct.
If they can make Tua a good quarterback, unless they trade for Watson, that team is a legit playoff team right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Offense, again, the first game is going to be against the best defense in the league, and we're legitimately the worst offense in the league. So
that's a loss.
It doesn't really bode well for us. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go on record and say, yeah, I don't think the Bears are going to go to Los Angeles and beat the Rams first game of the football season.
Yeah. Now, I'm in California. I would have went to the game if Justin Fields was playing, but he's clearly not. I'm not going to spend God knows how much money to freaking go watch Andy Dalton's anemic offense not move the ball.
And honestly, do you want to throw a rookie out there against that defense?
Honestly, I just say, man, screw it. Just let him learn. He's going to be playing against those defenses regardless. Every defense is good. This entire Bears schedule, when we run down and give our predictions on the record, it's tough defense after tough defense after tough defense. Now, there are some defenses like the Bengals, the Lions, and the Raiders in there. They're not the best defenses, but they're still somewhat solid enough to be like, they can give you a challenge. But you got Rams, you have the Packers defense, Tampa Bay. At this point, what else do you have to lose? You got freaking the Jets quarterback. He's Zach Wilson. He's gonna do it. Heck, they're talking about maybe in San Francisco starting Trey Lance. He's in probably the toughest division in football.
Yeah. And if you look at our home games are against some really decent defenses. You got the Packers, the 49ers, the Ravens, the Cardinals, and the Ravens and Cardinals have Super Bowl aspirations. The Vikings defense is actually supposed to be good. That's the week before Christmas. And then you got the Giants right after New Year's. I mean, there's some really good defenses that are coming into Chicago. And then we don't even want to talk about the defenses we have to go see on the road: Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Green Bay again, Seattle, Minnesota. So, I mean, Cleveland. That Cleveland defense is going to be good. Let's not, I mean, people always like to dump on Cleveland, but I don't think people are going to be dumping on Cleveland this year. And the Chicago Bears has to go to Cleveland week 3. So, yeah, we got our work cut out for us this football year. So it's going to be let's just hope that we are healthy so we can at least be competitive in these games.
Yeah, and regardless, it doesn't matter. Even with Justin Fields, it's going to be tough for him. And listen, that's the growing pains of a rookie. He's going to make mistakes, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. The question is, you just got to develop him good enough. Now, with this coaching staff, I don't have no confidence of doing it. I feel like Justin Fields can outplay what Matt Nagy calls for him.
Yeah, but I have no confidence in Matt Nagy myself either. I was hoping when they drafted Justin Fields that, maybe, just maybe, we can probably see what this guy's been talking about as he's this, as he pats himself on the back when they win all the darn time, that maybe that there's something to it. But I can tell you, man, I haven't seen it. There's nothing that you can tell me right now that tells me that Matt Nagy is a really good coach.
Yeah.
So, if they go 12-5, I'll probably still say the same thing.
Yeah.
But
which is not gonna happen, but
no, that ain't happening. Not this
year. So before we end this video, if we're gonna run down the entire schedule, give our thoughts of who's gonna win, if the Bears gonna win the game. Now, obviously, the whole quarterback controversy. I'm gonna say this: this is if they're gonna do the whole Patrick Mahomes thing, which I still think is a stupid thing because that wastes a year off Justin Fields' contract when you could put other assets to help him around before you have to eventually pay him big time money. But this is the whole strategy of Andy Dalton starts the entire year. I'm not doing the whole Justin Fields starts by week 4 thing. If Andy Dalton starts the entire year, and honestly, I'm on the whole thing of Andy Dalton, if I was the GM of the Bears, I'd tell him, well, then, if you're going to play this strategy, Andy Dalton better not come out unless he's hurt or unless he's injured. Otherwise, you're fired. And I don't care how bad it is. Because clearly, Matt Nagy doesn't know, well, I guess the position he's in, which I'm guessing the reason why he's doing this is he got an under the table extension, which is probably a 1-year extension where it's like, okay, you come back next year with Justin Fields and we'll see how you do. And then that's when we'll really see if, you're the guy.
And me personally, I wouldn't want to put Justin Fields out there behind his offensive line without knowing what they can do, without getting their feet wet, without actually, building some type of continuity with each other. They didn't play during the preseason at all. So now you want to just go ahead and, throw this offensive line together and then put a rookie quarterback behind it. It's a recipe for disaster. So if Fields does happen to play, I guess it just depends on if we are successful with our first, 3, 4, 5 games, which looking at the schedule, I mean, the 3 home games that we have, the first 3 home games we have are winnable. They are winnable. I'll say that. Going to Cleveland, I don't know about that one. Going to Las Vegas, they're winnable. So I'll say that. They are winnable. Will the Bears win?
That's the question.
We'll go through, and that's the question. But the first 6 games, they are some winnable football games.
Yeah. So week 1, NBC Sunday Night Football. I would be more entertained.
They don't win that one. Move on.
Yeah. I would be
hey, winning that one.
It would be entertaining if freaking Justin Fields started, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna lose that game.
I would not put Justin Fields out there cold turkey against that defense. No, I wouldn't even do it. I would just no.
So the next up, week 2, regular 1 a.m. game. Bengals versus the Bears in Chicago. If Andy Dalton's starting, I don't care. I could see this game as a game where we could probably lose this game because I don't know.
I can see that we can probably win it too. Joe Burrow is not 100% from the ACL he tore. So he's not 100%. And he's still trying to get his feet wet. So I think this is a winnable football game. You do have they got a really good, they got on paper, they have a really nice offense. But, and I think their defense has always been suspect. I think the Bears can win this game. So I'll say the Bears do win this game. First home game against a decent, young and up and coming team. I think the Bears can win this one. So I'll say they win this one.
They probably win this game. They should win it unless something crazy happens, and then we're really going to have to talk. You can't beat the Bengals. Next up, Bears at Browns.
No.
Loss.
No way. No.
The only way I see them winning is if they turn the ball over. The defense turns the ball over and picks Baker Mayfield off.
If that 2018 defense shows up in Cleveland that day, I think we have a shot. But unfortunately, that Cleveland defense against this offense is, again, I've said it once before, it's a recipe for disaster.
And then two, if, like we said in that Bills game, they can attack, but they can't bring down Nick Chubb, and it's really going to be a long day.
And keep in mind, they got Kareem Hunt too, so they got to, Cleveland is a really good football team. Cleveland is.
Yeah. Next up, Bears at Lions. We should win this game.
Y'all think no? The Lions come to us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lions come to us.
Lions at Bears. So we should win this game because it's Jared Goff.
Yeah. Brand new head coach, and the coach has pretty much got rid of everybody, and they got Jared Goff. DeAndre Swift is a good running back, and I'm pretty sure he'll be looking to make up for what he didn't do against the Bears last year. So, but even still, I still say the Bears can win this game. So I'll say yes, they'll be 2-2 after week 4.
Bears at Raiders in Vegas. Now, when I remember Bears against the Raiders, I remember that game up in London, England, when we just got smacked. Honestly,
I was going to go to that game. London is only a 45-minute flight from where we live. And I had everything together, and something told me, don't go. But we tried to at the last minute, and the plane tickets were outrageous. Hotels were outrageous. So financially, we were just like, we're not going to go, man. I'm not going to waste all that money. And then I watched the football game. The Bears did decently well in the first half, and the bottom just fell out in the second. And me saying, thank goodness I didn't go. Yeah. We would have spent a good bit of money just to go see the Bears get embarrassed that second half. Josh Jacobs rolled tide, but he just ran all over him. So I can't see. I can see the Bears win this game, but
I can see us losing too.
I can see us losing too. So I'll go ahead and put them down for a loss because they're on. They don't have the offense to win on the. They don't have the offense to win on the road.
And especially if that front seven gets pushed back like they did all those years ago, and you have Josh Jacobs running all over you, it's over. And then two,
I think the defense is good enough to to limit a lot of the things that Las Vegas likes to do. But that offense, unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's not an offense that you can go on the road with and win.
Yeah, and then if Darren Waller gets started, we know how bad the secondary is. So
Yep.
So 2-3. Bears against Packers.
Yep.
That's going to be shellacking. I already know that. So
even at home.
We all know Aaron Rodgers loves to play the Bears at Soldier Field.
That's true.
I'm just waiting.
Early in the year. This is early in the year. We're talking like, normally we pay that first game we play the Packers. It's usually a really good football game. Usually. So
I think the Bears will make it close.
We can win this game. Now the fan in me is starting to come out because I hate the Packers. We can win this game. This game we can win.
In my opinion,
Will we?
No.
No, I'll say no. But we can.
I envision the Bears will keep it close. Packers will have them figure out, and then second half comes complete annihilation. I'm waiting for the typical Randall Cobb wide open fade catch to happen because that always happened when he was on the Packers.
Gotcha.
So
right now we're at 2-4.
Yeah, 2-4. I have no confidence we're going to beat the Packers. Listen, my whole stance with the Packers series this year is, listen, let the Packers beat up on us. They're gone next year, and we can go do what they'd like to do to us, hopefully in the future.
Well, right now, I mean, we're about to come into the heart of our schedule, the hardest part of our schedule. And honestly, I'm going to just go ahead and on a limb and say we'll lose to Tampa Bay, lose to the 49ers, lose to Pittsburgh, lose to the Ravens.
Oh, yeah, we're losing all those games.
Yeah, we're losing every last one of them.
We're going to get annihilated against Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's going to want to exact his revenge from him in Chicago when he was like, fourth down. So he's going to –
at this point, we're 2-8.
Yeah. 49ers, oh, please. Especially if Trey Lance starts. If he's throwing bombs on us, over.
Mm-hmm.
And then also,
on top of that, the way the 49ers have been trying to play, they like to play smash mouth football. They throw out a slew of running backs at you. They got arguably the best tight end in football. They do have really good wideouts, and that defense, Joey Bosa, unfortunately, he's gonna be back. No, I can't see them beating the 49ers. And then the NFC West is arguably the best division in football. All of those teams is good enough to win 8 games.
Yeah. Monday night against the Steelers.
No way in hell they're going to Pittsburgh.
If Andy Dalton's the quarterback, they're not winning that game.
No, man, come on. I think by now, we're talking by now. And here it is. I think that's before the bye is when you probably are going to hear the talk of Justin Fields. And then Justin Fields goes into the bye looking to be the starter after the bye when they come home against the Ravens. So that way he gets that 2-week preparation period before they play the Ravens. So I'm going to still say, yeah, man, 2-10 after they play the Ravens. I can't see Justin Fields. You know what? I can honestly see Justin Fields at home. That's a noon game. I can see if they start Justin Fields, his first game against the Ravens, I can see us beating the Ravens.
I'm just going off the logic of Andy Dalton starting the whole year. So
yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, then 2-8 after the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm doing the whole thing that they're going to do the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes thing, where starting quarterback Andy Dalton plays the full year. So we lose that game.
Let's go with that thing. So 2-8.
Yeah. So I believe that's the Thanksgiving Day. I don't know why they gave us Thanksgiving Day. It's great. I have to stress out while I'm eating freaking Thanksgiving Day food.
Well, we get Detroit every year for Thanksgiving. It'll be in Detroit.
Now I could see us losing that game.
You can see us losing that one on Thanksgiving. Well, I mean, we beat them. We would have beat them already. So yeah, I can see Detroit exacting some revenge on national television on Turkey Day.
And the last time we went to Detroit, we almost lost that game if dude didn't catch the ball or had caught the ball.
Correct.
So
that was the game in which wasn't that the game they first gave the play calling duties over to Coach Lazor?
No, I think that was the first game of the season last year.
No. When I thought that they gave the play calling duties to Lazor midway through the season, and then the Bears ran off like 4 or 5 games in a row. And then
also that was that stretch when they played all the bad teams. But I believe
true. But the Lions were one of those teams.
Well, we played the Lions at home.
Right. But didn't we? Wait a minute. We lost that game.
No, I believe we won that game.
We won the first one because DeAndre Swift dropped a touchdown. And we lost the second one. Did we swept the Lions last year?
We swept the Lions last year. The second game, the Lions tried to make a comeback on us, but we managed to hold on.
Okay. All right.
So,
but you're right. I think so. You're gonna put that down as a loss.
yeah. So 2-9.
2-9. Okay. Cardinals at Green Bay. Man, they're not beating the Cardinals.
Yeah. So 2-10.
2-10. You want to talk about the Cardinals? Because
with the fact that they got AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins with our putrid secondary, they're going to be throwing dimes all over the field. And then Kyler Murray,
JJ Watt right up the middle.
Yep. And then Kyler Murray, just like
by now, the Bears would probably have some type of injury that will pretty much derail them down even further. Because again, just like we talked about before, they can't afford any injuries because they have no depth basically anywhere. So they can't really afford any type of injuries. And I think by now, especially since we're talking about, week 12, week 13, which I think week 12 is the Cardinals, they more than likely, every team will have some type of injury, just to how deep you are if you can actually, work through those injuries and still win football games. The Bears, unfortunately, aren't in that position.
Yeah, and then also you got to remember the whole COVID aspect too.
Correct.
So that could be a thing there.
So right now, we're talking about 2-10.
2-10.
2-10 Cardinals. Now we're going to Green Bay nationally televised game.
Yep, Sunday Night Football. Loss.
In Green Bay?
Yeah, in Green Bay, loss. That's a loss.
Yeah. I got to admit, this is the Aaron Rodgers torch game. I think we can win the first one, but we said that they were going to lose it. But this one right here is a definite loss. This is the Aaron Rodgers torch game. This is the one where he probably throws like 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, no picks. And he looks like Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, so that's what, 2-11?
Yep. So next up,
Vikings, another nationally televised Monday night game.
Monday night. Andy Dalton starting, loss. Justin Fields plays. I say win.
We can beat the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are all that great. I think the Vikings are on the same lines as we are. They got a similar quarterback in Kirk Cousins. Now, granted, they got a stud in Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen has always been solid. And yes, they got Dalvin Cook. Yeah, you're right, loss.
Yeah. I got that as a loss. Even at home. When we play the Vikings good, I got that as a loss at home. Yeah, if Andy Dalton's starting, trust me, they're when they have their legit defense in.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, okay. So after that, Seattle. Loss.
Seattle. Christmas Day. I can tell you right now, again, I'm gonna say this again. I've said it before. I don't want to make it sound like we're hating on the Bears. I really don't. I'm pretty sure people are going to be watching this video and be like, oh, these two guys, they're just hating on the Bears. No, it's not. We're trying our very best to tell the truth as we see it. And the Bears do not have the offense to go into another team's building and beat them. This is Seattle, another team with Super Bowl aspirations. Another team with a top 10 quarterback. The Bears do not have the offense to go into Seattle and win. That is a loss. If you're thinking differently, then yeah, you're thinking like a fan and not like, or you're thinking like a fanatic, I should say. But nah, Seattle lost.
Loss. Huge loss.
The loss. Yeah.
Giants and Bears. Why the hell are we playing the Giants again? This is the third straight year.
The third year in a row we playing the Giants?
Yes.
And what did we lost to them last year, but we beat them.
No, we won this year we won last year just barely. That was the game Saquon went out. And then
that's right. That's right. That was early in the year. So yeah.
I believe it was 2018 year. That's when Mitch got hurt, and then we lost that game.
The Giants.
Win that game.
This is a tough one. We seem to play the Giants pretty well. So I am going to go and say win. Game. Nobody will probably wind up seeing it other than the good folks out in Chicago and New York. I think we beat the Giants.
Yeah. Even with Saquon Barkley, I still think we beat.
Yeah, even with Saquon Barkley, I think we beat the Giants.
Yeah, so, I can see that we can have a turnover off of Daniel Jones at least one time.
Correct. So that's what, 3-13?
Yeah, around I think 3. Yeah, 3-13.
3-13, and then we go to Minnesota.
Loss.
Last game of the year.
Loss. So 3-14. So essentially, I was on my predict. That's my prediction.
Correct. So I honestly, I don't.
And it should be like this: after the end of the season, after we lose the Minnesota Vikings, if the Bears finish 3-14, Matt Nagy should automatically be fired right after game.
Yeah. I think best case scenario 8-9.
That or 9-8, but that's if Justin Fields plays.
I can't even see 9-8. Who would be the?
I say 9-8 if Justin Fields plays, at least starting by week 4, maybe. But then again, maybe. I probably would be wrong by that too.
Maybe. The only way I can see them doing better than 3-14 is they probably bring in Justin Fields, and Nagy play calls his nays off,
which I don't think is happening.
I can't see it happening either. Based on what we've seen over the past 3 years, I can't see it happening either. So, I agree with you. Let's go ahead and book it 3-14, but that's only if Andy Dalton plays.
That's only if Andy Dalton starts the entire year. If I were to, I don't really want to go over the entire schedule of Justin Fields starts at say the week.
No, that would just make me. That would just make me.
Yeah. Angry. So
and plus, even if they went with Justin Fields, Nagy would just take all the credit and make it sound like he's this,
offensive genius that he.
Yeah, this offensive genius that can win with any quarterback, and we're that's why I wanted to draft him.
Only thing I can only say is I need the end goal to be at least one time, or I just need to see it on my ESPN header or wherever it is. I get an alert to my phone saying, breaking news, Chicago Bears fired Matt Nagy. That's the only thing I'm just waiting for it to happen. And after that, guess what? I'm throwing myself a party. And then I'll quickly take a plane flight to Chicago, find where he lives at, and kick him and his family out of Chicago, or out of the state of Illinois, because I don't want this guy in the borders.
Well, I would probably go as far as to say this, if they do happen to fire, it's twofold. If they do happen to fire Matt Nagy, they would have to replace him with somebody credible.
Unless they promote Desai to
maybe, but even still though, they'd have to. I mean, they got to get somebody credible in that position, because I'm still not forgiving him for that New Orleans game in which he threw the ball with Trubisky 54 times and ran the ball 7.
That's another thing we forgot to put a factor in the running back segment, is the fact that will he run the ball? Now, in the press conferences, he said, I'm going to run the ball a lot more.
Well, I hope so, because when the Bears run the ball, or when they did last year, they were highly successful as a football team. Now, we don't have the personnel to go 5 wide, 1st and 10. We don't have the personnel, just continue to open up and go, with all these wide receivers and quick passing and things of that nature. The best way you can get this offensive line going is to let them hit somebody. And when Nagy, I'm not going to say when Nagy, when Bill Lazor had the play calling duties, that's what he did. He ran the ball. He made sure the offensive line hit somebody. And it made Trubisky a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. Thus, we were successful. Now, albeit it was against teams that, were not great teams by, playoff football standards. But at the same time, they won football games. So we'll see what he does. But I'm not holding my breath for Matt Nagy to run the ball 25 plus times in a football game.
Yeah. So that's just our thoughts on the Chicago Bears season. I don't know when this video is going to go up to YouTube. I don't think I'm going to make a freaking game recap against the Titans preseason game. Maybe I will. Probably not.
Nah, you don't need to, because they're going to wind up doing the same thing. It seems to be a Matt Nagy staple. I'm not going to play anybody in the preseason. I'm just going to play all of these young guys, rookies, and then cut half of them, and then go into the regular season with guys who didn't get any time whatsoever. So we'll see. But
But other than that, I'm going for the season wise. I'm going to be making game recaps every single week. So expect the first regular season game recap, which is probably going to be me ranting at the top of my lungs, is going to be week 1 against the Los Angeles Rams. And it's going to be a consistent thing. I don't know if I'm going to do game previews. Probably not. Just game recaps.
We've already done the game previews, 3 and 14.
Yeah.
You know, and if at the end of the year, if we're wrong, we'll be the first one to say we're wrong. But
hey, all I need is 3 and 14 to happen, and Matt Nagy fired. Now you can say you stop being a fair weather fan. Listen, I just don't see how Matt Nagy freaking helps this team in the future.
Yeah,
I just don't. And when Matt Nagy's fired, it'll be my same reaction.
I got it, man. I'm officially done with Nagy anyway.
Yeah.
I'm done. I thought he was going to show us something when, even in the preseason with Justin Fields. But I'm like, if you're going to play the dude, open up the playbook so we can see what this kid can do, man. Just don't do the whole vanilla thing and let's, get this guy killed.
Yeah. When Matt Nagy's fired, I'm a Clippers fan. When Doc Rivers was finally let go, I was throwing a party. And I saw the fruits of the labor by firing him. We got to the Western Conference Finals. If Kawhi freaking was not healthy, we go to the finals and win it all. I'm not saying the Bears could fire Matt Nagy, get a new coach, and they go automatically to the Super Bowl.
Well,
but I'm saying it would be better.
I know this is off the subject, but I can't wait for that NBA season preview because I do not think you guys should have signed Kawhi Leonard. I think that was a waste of money for a guy with 2 bad legs, and he's virtually going to be off this next basketball season, earning a check. You gave him a max deal on 2 bad legs. And
I think they had to do it regardless. They had to do it regardless.
Not really. You could have took that money and signed 2 other. You can sign 2 other effective players and gave the team to Paul George. And then on top of that, they traded away basically half their bench for freaking what's the guy that can't shoot? The little
Eric Bledsoe. No, I was not happy about them.
I'm like, Lord, have mercy! You got to be kidding me. Okay. All right. So
yeah, we'll definitely.
The Clippers are just basically writing off next year.
Definitely, we'll get to that.
That's
another video for another day. Yeah. But guys, that's just our honest thoughts of the Bears. I just see us sucking, and I see it being another wasted 3 hours on a Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday if they have any Thursday games this year. Where I'm just like, just shoot me already. Why do I have to come out
Thursday? The only Thursday game we have is the Thanksgiving game.
Okay. So I'll be, unless Justin Fields gets in at some point this season, I'm going to be freaking, and I'm not even an alcoholic drinker. I don't like alcohol. I could see myself drinking alcohol, just going to bed wondering, why am I watching this team again with another anemic quarterback?
I got to admit, just talking about Nagy, I'm going to that's my bar right behind me. I'm going to go ahead and get that, my Woodbridge Scotch. And yeah, I'm gonna have to take one down, man, because I really don't like Matt Nagy as a play caller or as a head coach.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Hopefully, you guys liked this video and enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys for the week 1 game recap against the Los Angeles Rams, where it's definitely gonna be a loss unless they surprise me. But other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here. Again, hit that subscribe button if you guys like more Chicago Bears content. Hit that like button, as well as hit the subscribe button if you want to get any more Chicago Bears stuff that I upload to the channel. When you do, hit that notification bell icon. Make sure you're up to date with whatever I upload to the channel, whether it's anime, yada, 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 movie stuff, or Chicago Bears. Other than that, we're going to get out of here. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day or night when checking out this video. Until then, guys, we'll see. I'll see you guys for a week 1 game recap. Till then, guys, peace.
Ciao. Yep.